What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Welcome to your second stimulus check update, stimulus package update, and stimulus news report for Saturday, January 16th. This morning, we got a lot of updates to go over. We're going to cover the $2,000 second stimulus checks. We're going to go over the proposal for the $1,400 stimulus check. We have updates on the $600 stimulus checks. We have information about the $15 federal minimum wage. We also have updates on unemployment benefits, rental assistance, and also hazard pay. That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. If you have any other questions regarding anything else or on one of these topics, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. So let's get started. Since Joe Biden revealed his stimulus package, a lot of people have been upset by it. Many Americans were upset that they didn't get the full $2,000. Many people were saying it's too much, it's too little. Well, Democrats don't like this because they do not like what's included in the package and for such a small amount. Democrats say it should be higher. It needs to be well over $2 trillion. And then we have Republicans. They're not on board with this because they're saying it's too high and there's too many far left policies. And then we got progressives that are fighting Joe Biden to provide what he actually promised to the American people. We have people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, Ro Khanna, Rashida Tlaib, and others that are pushing for a full $2,000 stimulus check that Joe Biden promised, not an additional $1,400. Ro Khanna is even taking this a step further, and he's demanding $2,000 stimulus checks for every single person per month. And this would go on most likely until months after the pandemic is over. This is big. Now, do I think a monthly stimulus check could happen? It's possible. It is quite possible, but at the figure of $2,000 per month, I don't think that is likely. If it were to happen, I think it would be closer to around $600 to possibly $1,200 per month. $2,000 I think is going to be too much. I don't think Democrats would even go for that themselves. And then we have AOC. She's taking this and even a step further. And she's saying we need monthly stimulus checks to go out to the American people. And we need monthly and retroactive unemployment benefits. These have to go back. So she's saying the $400, what she wants is that to be retroactive, go all the way back. Now, she did not specify, do we go all the way back to December 27th? Or do we go all the way back to the middle to end of September when the $300 actually expired? That's what we're thinking. That's what we know. So as of right now, this could be big. It could be very big. But again, this is just one of the priorities. There's a lot of people pushing for things right now. And right now, there are a handful of progressives getting on board with this group of people trying to push for additional stimulus to the American people. So yes, there are some Democrats, some Republicans that are like, you know what, the American people, they're fine. They'll get through it. They're tough. But then you got some progressives that are like, you know, we need to provide for our people. These are the ones that put us in office. We need to do whatever we can. So here's what we're thinking. Here's what we know. What we know right now is that there are pretty much 3 paths forward, just 3, to get this $2,000 second stimulus check. Path number 1, we could see a $2,000 stimulus check on top of the $600. That's what many are trying to do. That's what these progressives are trying to accomplish. Joe Biden promised $2,000 checks as long as you put the 2 Democrats into office. Well, that's what Georgia did. They put the 2 Democrats into office or into the Senate. So, Joe Biden should not go back on his promise is what they're saying. Democrats and Republicans, however, don't seem to support this idea. They do not support an additional $2,000 on top of the $600 that many Americans already received. Method number 2, or path number 2. We get a new bill, completely new bill that has $1,400 included in it. If we see this, here's the problem. We know $1,400 would go to everybody, right? But here's the issue. This would most likely exclude adult dependents from getting the initial $600. So if it says $1,400 stimulus check goes to every single person, every single filer, all their spouse, you got their child dependents, and you got adult dependents as well. Every single one's going to get $1,400. That's pretty much a third stimulus check. Well, that's great, but it excludes the adult dependents. So that leads us to path number 3, which is the most likely scenario at this point. Path number 3, we get a $2,000 stimulus check amendment. This would amend the second stimulus check for $600. This means every single person that received a stimulus check of $600 would get an amended amount of additional $1,400. That's great. That would equal $2,000. Perfect. Here's where it comes in handy for adult dependents. This would also give adult dependents, because adult dependents would be included in this amendment according to the Cash Act, which is already written, which would just need to be repassed by the House, sent over to the Senate, and then passed by the Senate. This could happen very quickly. Now, what we're hearing is if this Cash Act were to pass, that means adult dependents would also get the $2,000. So unlike path number 2, adult dependents would get that additional $600 that many Americans have already received. So that would be great. And again, this is the most likely scenario at this point. This is what many people are talking about. However, there are those group of progressives that are saying, he promised $2,000. This is not $2,000. This is an additional $1,400. So this does not count. So we'll see. Now, as long as we're talking about the $600 stimulus check, here's what I want you to know. Okay? If you got the first one, you're going to get the $1,400 as long as it passes. We do not know if it's going to pass yet. This is the issue. We do not know if it will or when it will. The timing of these checks is what is currently being discussed. Most do not expect this to pass this month, sometime in January. This is not going to pass. Will it pass in February? It's likely. Would we see the checks in February? Probably not. We would most likely see stimulus checks sometime in March. But now I want to address the $600 stimulus checks, because I know a lot of people have been asking, hey, I didn't get my $600 stimulus check. Why? Or I didn't get my full amount, or I got too much. What do I do? Here's what we know. The IRS has stated if you get more than you are actually owed, and it's actually coming to you, your name or your bank account, you can keep that money. But if it's coming to your address and it's under somebody else's name, it's not your check. That's actually fraud. Do not cash that check. So here's what we know. If you did not get your full $600, there's nothing you can do at this point. This right now is January 16th. You had until January 15th, which was yesterday, in order to get all this stuff cleared up. The problem is the IRS. They only answered roughly 1 in every 4 phone calls. So if you were one of those 3 people that did not get through, then that was just tough luck, according to the IRS. Now, here's what I want you to know about if you didn't get your $600 stimulus check. You can still get it if you file your 2020 federal tax return. You can do this very soon. You can probably file within the next couple of weeks. So if you can file, go ahead and file. Some people are saying, well, I don't want to file because if I do, this could screw up the possibility of me getting that $1,400 stimulus check. It could. It ultimately could. But here's my thinking. The IRS is not going to just push out the next stimulus check when or if it does happen. They're not just going to push it out as quickly as they did this $600 second stimulus check, because they had too many issues. They will most likely take their time, and so this will most likely take maybe a week, possibly 2 weeks to get this sent out, not just a couple days. So here's what I want you to do. File your federal income taxes. Just go ahead and file them, but make sure you put in the correct bank account, okay? Obviously put in the correct bank account. If you put in the wrong one, they're going to send your refund or your money to someone else. So put in the correct bank account. Make sure all your information is correct when you file. But make sure you get your payment through direct deposit. Do not get a paper check. That's going to delay things way too much for you, especially if we get another $1,400 stimulus check. So make sure you do this. Also, the only people that can receive a stimulus check now after the January 15th deadline are people that the IRS made mistakes with. That means this will most likely be people that filed with H&R Block, with TurboTax, or Jackson Hewitt. Jackson Hewitt is the main one at this point that has been delaying these stimulus transfers. So right now, if you use Jackson Hewitt to file your federal income taxes last year, just understand your check may be delayed until roughly February 1st. So just keep checking your bank account. It should show up at some point. Now, here's where all this gets really tricky. Because right now, what we know is Republicans and Democrats are fighting on multiple issues. Some of the biggest issues right now we are hearing is the $15 federal minimum wage. This is what we know, and we've known this for a while. Right now, here's what I can tell you. The Biden administration threw in a $15 federal minimum wage into this bill as a negotiation tactic. This is what we're hearing at this point. Now, is this true? I believe this is true because, and let me just give you the reasoning why I believe this is true. I say this because Joe Biden, he spent years, decades in the Senate. He knows what the rules are. He knows how they operate. And to throw a $15 federal minimum wage increase into this bill when there's a possibility that this bill could be passed through a budget reconciliation, he knows it's not going to work. So, even though they can't pass this bill at this point through a budget reconciliation, they can pass it with bipartisan support. However, due to that $15 federal minimum wage increase, Republicans will not go for this. So, what is apparently happening right now is the Biden administration threw this in as a way to leverage their other asks. So, right now what we know is the $15 federal minimum wage is not going to be supported by Republicans, but if it's not supported by Republicans and Republicans say, you got to pull that out, we're not going to even support this bill with a $15 federal minimum wage, so Democrats and the Biden administration pull it out. But then they say, okay, well, if we're going to take this out, then you have to give us that $400 for unemployment benefits for an additional 28 weeks. You have to give us $350 billion for state and local government funding. You have to give us those child tax credits. We need those. That's what we're hearing. That this is just another political dance that we're going through again. We're doing this again. We did it months ago. We did it last month, and we're going to do it again. So this is where everything gets really tricky because right now this is turning into this political dance again, this negotiation, back and forth. It's going to be based off of what we see actually happen over the next couple of weeks. Do we see Republicans kind of give in to some of these demands that Democrats and the Biden administration want? It could happen. But over the past 24 hours, I have read many things, many articles, watched many videos. And even though Republicans do not hold the majority any longer, what we know at this point is they still have a lot of power. Mitch McConnell has a lot of power in the Senate at this point because he understands Democrats have to go through them if they want one of their priorities as the $15 federal minimum wage. If he wants this to pass, then Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi must go through Republicans. So, we will see if this happens as we move throughout this next week. Now, let's dive into that $300 per week unemployment boost, or the $400 unemployment per week boost. Here's what we know. Right now, many states, again, the $300 is for the $900 billion stimulus package. So that goes from December 27th all the way through March 14th. That's the date for that, for the $300. March 14th and onward, that would be the additional $400 if that bill passes. But here's what we know regarding the $300 per week. Many states are beginning to send out those payments. The $300 per week unemployment boost is coming, but not all states are actually sending it out at this point. A lot are saying they're still having issues with their state's system. Many states are actually very slow to provide unemployment benefits because they are using outdated systems. And some states like California, and this is a big one, are actually holding up cases because of potential fraud. Not because those cases have any potential fraud or red flags, but because there's so many cases that do. Right now, according to the last report, it is saying that about $8 billion has gone out from California for unemployment, and that is potentially all fraud. So, $8 billion is a lot of money for one state to dole out that potentially was not actually legally attained. So what you need to keep in mind is that you will still get this $300 per week bonus. It may come in a lump sum at the end. It may come in a lump sum somewhere in the middle, but you will get it eventually. Now, let's talk about some rental assistance, because this is another big one that states are responsible for dishing out. According to the Treasury Department, yesterday they stated that about $20 billion has been distributed to the states. So what I can tell you is the states have to put this, obviously it needs to go into their books. If this just went through the states yesterday, today's the weekend, Monday is a holiday, so this might not actually be, available to the states until possibly Tuesday or Wednesday. So what I can tell you is the states have to first put together their own rental assistance programs and systems in order to start collecting applications. What we do know is some states, as of right now, are calling on those that applied in the last round of rental assistance, and those people could be in the first priority to get this additional assistance. Now, a few things you need to keep in mind. This is a system based on prioritization. So you need to make sure that you are eligible for this benefit, but at the same time, keep in mind, some people may be put up higher up on that list than you are, simply because they are considered more priority. Right now, people at risk of becoming homeless will be prioritized. People that have not had work in the past 90 days or even longer will be prioritized. And those that have a median household income of less than 80% of the area median income will be prioritized as well. Those three groups of people will be the priority. However, if let's say there's enough money to provide 100,000 people with some type of rental relief, but only 80,000 people that are considered priority apply, that means an additional 20,000 people could apply. Again, those figures are just pretty much pulled out of thin air, but that is the case. That is what we're hearing. So just because you do not fall into one of these categories doesn't mean a thing. Go ahead and apply. Apply early and make sure you are on them. Ask and see what you can do. Is there another program? Maybe you don't qualify for this one. Is there another program you could potentially qualify for? Ask and see, because right now, here's what we know. This program, this $25 billion that's going out, which only 80% went out, about $20 billion went out yesterday. What we know is that this assistance will be for up to 12 months. You can get up to 12 months of rental assistance and utility assistance. It will go back all the way for 12 months, and it will go forward for additional 3. So you can get a decent amount of assistance here. Now, let's address hazard pay, because this was something that I did a video on last night where U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren, she mentioned this in a Facebook post, and I was just floored. I didn't see anything about it, but she said Joe Biden provided hazard pay. So I looked into this even more. I'm not going to let this go, because American people that suffered, that put their lives on the line to provide groceries, do deliveries, and just everything like that. Okay, and doctors and teachers and hospital workers and anybody that's deemed an essential worker that put their lives on the line, you should be rewarded in some way. So yesterday I mentioned that she was referring to hazard pay, but I couldn't find anything about it. Well, I finally figured out why. Joe Biden doesn't have a provision on stimulus or in the stimulus package for hazard pay. He mentions it, he brings it up, but there's no provision in here for hazard pay. He is merely just asking companies to do the right thing and do right by their employees and provide them with back hazard pay. So here's what the Biden administration had to say. This is their exact quote. A number of large employers, especially in the retail and grocery sectors, have seen bumper profitability in 2020, and yet done little or nothing at all to compensate their workers for the risk they took. The president-elect believes these employers have a duty to do right by their frontline essential workers and acknowledge their sacrifices with generous back hazard pay for the risk they took across 2020 and up to today. So, what we know is that the Biden administration is going to push for hazard pay, but according to all reports, they are most likely not going to legally enforce it. Now, I think hazard pay, it would be great for many people. I think it's needed. I think for that moral boost, it would be essential. But as of right now, it just does not seem like it is extremely likely. That's as of right now. Okay, things could change tonight or tomorrow or even possibly this week. So we will see what happens there. But this is what we know right now regarding the second stimulus check, possibly the third stimulus check, rental assistance, hazard pay, and so much more. So again, if you have any questions regarding any of this stuff or something different, please ask your question down in the comment section below, and I'll try to get to that as soon as possible. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful weekend. Consider subscribing so I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's going on, and I'll see you guys on the next one.